Hi, it's Megan. I'm once again trapped under a cat, so I thought this would be a good time to record. Here are some of the financial tips I have about dating, particularly cohabitating. I think some of this probably applies to marriage too, but that's a whole different ballgame that I've never experienced. What I have experienced is living for just a little bit with two ex-partners while one or the other of us got our shit together. In the first case, it was financial. We didn't have enough money separately to for one of us to move out. So we had to stick it out for a little bit longer. And then with my most recent breakup, I actually had implemented the things that I'm going to talk about. I had tried to set up a little bit of a safety net. But I was doing an interstate move, so I needed time to just plan out the logistics of that. And that one I actually covered a bunch on my Instagram, and I've got several posts about it if you want to check it out and how I did that. I'm at bitch.fires on Instagram. I think they're mostly just like 2 reels where I talk about how I was financially planning to move. Anyway, a disclaimer that both of these breakups were traumatic in hindsight. I do think the second one was a little bit easier just because I had better, we were both in a better position financially where we didn't have to stick together longer than we really wanted to beyond the moving logistics. But it wasn't that much easier. We're talking just a little bit easier. It still really sucks. Breakups are terrible, especially when we're talking about having to uproot somebody or drastically change the way that you're living. So all of this to say, I'm actually not planning on ever living with a partner again. I could see myself maybe having a roommate, although I'm pretty private, but emotionally, I think I could handle a roommate. I don't know about mentally because I'm kind of a pain in the ass. Emotionally, though, I could not ever live with a partner again, or at least I don't feel like I could right now. It's just such an upheaval to have to either move out or watch somebody else move out and then rework your entire structure, way of living, the way that you budget, on top of dealing with all of the emotions and your mental health and establishing a new routine, a new healthy routine. I just don't think I want to go through that again. So if I do live with somebody in the future, like a romantic partner, I would prefer to be married. I know people will probably disagree with that. That's fine. I'm just telling you where I'm at right now. Anyway, so like I said, it doesn't really remove a lot of the pain when you are more financially ready, but it just makes it just the tiniest bit easier to break up with somebody. So if I can save myself just a little bit of agony, I'm going to do it. So the first thing is to specifically have a breakup fund. This can be part of your emergency fund, but it shouldn't just be the standard 3 to 6 months of expenses. I would add on top of that what you think you would need in your budget if you were to break up with somebody. So not 3 months of your current expenses, but 3 months of worst case scenario expenses, meaning if you had to go off on your own and any associated expenses with that, whether that's moving, whether that's taking on the bulk of the rent and the bills or mortgage or whatever that you're splitting with a partner. It is such a relief to have an extra safety net so that you are able to exit a situation quickly. I think at some point during my last breakup, I had a whole thing about how I was going to really amp up my emergency fund. I wanted it to be super fat. And what I didn't say was that it was because I saw a coming breakup in my future. I didn't really want to get into the personal aspects of it, but that was my reason. That is why I really beefed up my emergency fund past what I had before. And it really made it easier for me to do the kind of move that I wanted to at the end of that relationship. I didn't just want to stay in the same city. I wanted to move closer to family. So I made sure to account for that. I accounted for the cost of having to buy a car because I knew I was moving to a more car-centric area. In all honesty, oh, my dishwasher just kicked in. Sorry. In all honesty, I didn't save up enough for a car. I mean, I was still able to purchase one, but I just was so out of practice with cars that I like grossly underestimated that whole process. But hey, having a little bit of a buffer there helped. And it definitely like didn't deter me from making a move. So I feel very grateful that I did at least plan that somewhat. The next thing I unfortunately learned is when you are looking for a place to live with somebody, and I know things are going well and you're excited to move in together, and like you're looking at cute places and dreaming up how you're going to decorate or whatever, just try to go for the place that each of you could pay for on your own if you had to. So my first relationship cohabitating, we got an apartment that was expensive for both of us individually, but very manageable when we were together. So when we broke up and the lease wasn't up, we couldn't decide who should stay there and how we would pay for it, which made it, again, really stressful to move. And maybe an emergency fund would have helped in that case. Then someone could have closed out the lease. But it was just like so much money for me personally. I'm the one that ended up taking over the lease until the end. And it was like, I think $1,800 a month, which might not sound like a lot to some people, but is a lot to me. And was a lot to me at the time. This was several years ago now. And I would have preferred to have lived in a slightly less nice and cheaper apartment. So when I was moving in with my last ex, we did pick a pretty cheap apartment that we could each afford. It was like, I think it was $1,300 a month, for a 3-bedroom in Chicago. So that's pretty darn good. As you can imagine, it was not the most luxurious apartment. And hey, we made it cute. It's fine. And we had seen other units where we were like, oh, that's really nice. I'd like to live there. And my boyfriend at the time could easily have afforded them because he made a lot more money than I did. But I wanted to keep it within my range because I had just gone through like a horrible experience closing out an expensive lease a few years before that. And it got bonus points because it really helped me beef up my emergency fund to have like a really reasonable rent, because at the time that was split between 2 people. So, you know, my rent was hella cheap when I was in a relationship. Like it was $650 a month. So that enabled me to really save a lot. All of my examples have to do with renting, I guess, because that's my experience. But also, I just want to throw out there that I think it's a huge risk to sign any kind of legal document with someone you're not married to. Like getting a mortgage together, being somebody's co-signer, I don't know, buying a car together. I just find that very terrifying because a lease is hard enough. A lease is a legal document too, but it only lasts a year, thank God. So you can kind of troubleshoot around that. Anything with a longer timeline just sounds like a nightmare to have to deal with when you're already going through a really painful emotional experience. So I would steer clear personally. Honestly, I'd probably steer clear of pets too. Both because of the financial obligation of who's going to take over the pet in the event of a breakup. And also just because it's kind of hard on the animal. I went into my last relationship with a cat. And cats are so territorial and anxious. And I mean, we all move. I know that. Like, it's inevitable that you will likely have to move with a cat if you have a cat. But they really hate it. So I feel really bad having to, you know, take my cat out of her home, put her in a new home, force her to get acquainted with that new home. Like, she had a lot of anxiety. She was prescribed Prozac. Like, that I got a kick out of that, even though, you know, my poor cat. It's just like really, you know, it feels hard on the pet. I'm sure some people are like, well, what about kids? And like, yeah, I don't know. That's not my situation. I know people have kids in relationships when they're not married. And obviously I don't have like a moral issue with that. I can't personally imagine it because it sounds like a nightmare to split and coordinate time and whatever. Childcare. Oh my God. I'll let somebody else with more experience speak on that. I don't have kids. And my last tip is really just to budget for personal comfort. Like, I know my last month with my most recent ex, I had a lot of money allocated to eating out because I was in the middle of a move. I didn't want to deal with like buying groceries and cooking food when I wasn't going to be living there much longer. And not only that, but I really didn't want to spend as much time, like I wanted to spend as little time as I could in that apartment other than when I was like packing and had to be there because I didn't like, I was like still kind of cooking for two people when I cooked, sort of. I mean, like I wasn't going to be just cook for me because I usually make a lot of food. And I just didn't, things weren't that great between us. I didn't really want to be there. So I'm really glad that I budgeted for restaurants and eating out and like getting able to go to a coffee shop, go to a restaurant, decompress, not have to be in a stressful environment for just a little while. That was really helpful. Other things I could see being helpful to budget for in a breakup would be like massages, your favorite drinks. Y'all know I drink a lot, like just beverages, not even alcoholic, just like I have a lot of drinks on hand at any time. New books, whatever. And I think it's okay to lean into the more expensive things, like, or not the free things, I guess. I mean, because normally if I'm like in a safe and healthy and happy environment and I feel comfortable in my home, then I'm happy to do free things at home. Like watch something on TV and make some popcorn, or make a pot of tea and read a book, or, just, I don't know, pet my cat and complain to her. You can hear her in the background right now. But I didn't want to do any of those free things at home because I hated being at home and it wasn't my home anymore. So having like the ability to escape was nice, or like go to a museum. I did that a few times. That was nice to like get my mind off things, go to the movies. I love going to the movies. I think I didn't go to a movie for like 2 years or ish, around there, because like it had been the pandemic and then I was in saving money mode. So I was doing everything at home. But as soon as I started going through this breakup phase, like I hit the movies hard. And I'm really thankful that I did that, as miserable as I was at the time, because I think it just made me the slightest bit more comfortable. I don't know, gyms. If you're a gym person, I could see a gym membership being really helpful during a breakup. You could also go to a park. That's free. That's an example of something free, I guess, you can do. There's really only so much you can walk, though. But yeah, especially when like you're in there and you're the one moving out. There's my cat. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Especially when you're the one moving out and you have to pack all your shit up. It's just a hellscape in there. Like, it's not comforting. You can't wait to leave. You're around a person you don't want to be around. Even if it's amicable, like, I don't know, I'm a scorched earth kind of breakup, so I'm like, I don't want to see or talk to you ever again. So having the budget to leave on a frequent basis was essential to me. Okay, I'm probably missing some. Luckily, I haven't gone through this too many times, but I think I've been through it enough. So for those of you with different experiences, I'm sure you have more tips. Feel free to let me know. If you can think of anything else I can share to help everybody. I know breakups are just the worst. So feel free to leave a comment on this episode or message me at bitch.fires on Instagram. If you liked this podcast episode, leave me a review. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Okay, bye.